Hello, and welcome to the 28th episode of LGBTQIA+, Heroes, Icons, Legends, and Events. This series of programs covers a wide variety of topics, such as the Day of Silence, the Rainbow Honor Walk, and entertainers Josephine Baker and Freddie Mercury. In episode 15 of this series, we learned about the history of the International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia, and Biphobia. Known by the acronym IDAHOBIT, the day is observed yearly on May 17th. The goal is to raise awareness of LGBTQIA+ rights violations and to energize interest in protecting LGBTQIA+ rights. The theme for 2023 is Together Always, United in Diversity. Originally called the International Day Against Homophobia, or IDAHO, it was founded to coordinate grassroots movements and to lobby for international recognition. The date of May 17th was chosen to commemorate the World Health Organization's decision on May 17, 1990, to remove homosexuality from its list of mental illnesses and disorders. The concept of the day was first proposed in 2004. The first International Day Against Homophobia was celebrated on May 17, 2005. Transphobia was added to the name of the campaign in 2009, and Biphobia was added in 2015. In today's episode, we'll discuss two ongoing movements in the LGBTQ struggle for equality. The H in the IDAHOBIT acronym has until now covered homophobia for gay men and women. There is an ongoing effort to add an L for lesbophobia to the IDAHOBIT acronym for representation of lesbians. Linda Riley, an LGBTQ activist and advocate and publisher of Diva magazine, the leading European periodical for LGBTQ women and non-binary people, has been instrumental in this effort. She has written and spoken eloquently of why the change is necessary. In an article for Pink News, she says, quote, "There could not be a more appropriate time to call upon the organizers of the International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia, and Transphobia to add an L to their acronym and transform IDAHOBIT to IDAHOBLIT Day. We are yet to see the acknowledgement of lesbians as people with a distinct identity who are worthy of inclusion in the acronym. This, sadly, is all too reminiscent of history's continued marginalization of lesbians, the best-known example perhaps being that Queen Victoria couldn't get her head around the fact that lesbians even existed." Linda is also the founder of Lesbian Visibility Week, which was celebrated this year during the last week of April. She says, quote, "Lesbians, alongside our trans siblings, were at the forefront of the Stonewall protest in America, the anti-Section 28 protest in Britain, and the campaigns that sought to ensure that people with AIDS, chiefly our gay male brethren, were treated with dignity and decency when they were shunned by much of society. Those who say that lesbophobia is by definition a subset of homophobia are effectively claiming that lesbians are a subset of gay men. This may be unintentional, but intentional or not, it is clearly unacceptable. After all, lesbians have to deal with the double whammy of prejudice against their sex and their sexual preferences, something that gay men do not traditionally have to face. Enough is enough. The transformations from Idaho to IDAHOT to IDAHOBIT were accomplished quite easily with little fuss and almost no dissent. It's now time for IDAHOBIT to morph into IDAHOBLIT and give women who love women the recognition and respect we deserve. The change to the acronym has already happened in much of the United Kingdom, but the struggle for inclusion elsewhere in the world continues. Our second topic is the Equality Act. The Equality Act is a bill that has been presented to the Congress of the United States that, if it is ever passed, will amend the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The Equality Act would prohibit discrimination on the basis of sex, sexual orientation, and gender identity in education, employment, housing, credit scores, jury service, and federally funded programs. It would also increase protections for existing civil rights for people of color. According to the website whitehouse.gov, quote, "Despite the progress our nation has made towards full equality, LGBTQ+ Americans still lack full non-discrimination protections in 29 states. In the absence of a federal non-discrimination law, more than half of all U.S. states lack laws on the books prohibiting discriminations against LGBTQ+ individuals and families. The Equality Act will expand public accommodations protections for people of color, women, and people of faith. The Equality Act would also strengthen civil rights protections for other protected groups, including people of color, women, people with disabilities, and people of faith, by expanding where non-discrimination protections apply to public accommodations. Many similar bills have been proposed since the 1970s. This version of the Equality Act was first introduced in 2015 with strong support from President Barack Obama and Vice President Joe Biden. The bill was passed by the United States House of Representatives on May 17, 2019, but the United States Senate did not act upon the bill. The Equality Act was reintroduced on February 18, 2021 in the 117th Congress. It was passed in the House of Representatives on February 25, 2021. President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris are vocal supporters, as are over 550 national, state, and local organizations, at least 500 American businesses, and several feminist and women's rights groups. The bill is still awaiting a vote in the United States Senate. The main goal of the International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia, and Biphobia is to raise awareness of violence, discrimination, and repression of LGBT communities around the world, and to also provide ideas to take action against LGBT rights violations. Celebration of the day is prominent in Europe and Latin America, where almost every country participates in public events. Events include street marches, parades, and festivals. Other events are arts and culture related, such as dancing flash mobs, musical performances, street art, and balloon releases. The International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia, and Biphobia has been recognized and celebrated by over 130 countries around the world. Today, over 70 countries, mostly in Africa, the Middle East, and Asia, criminalize same-sex relationships. Also, in more than 30 countries, transgender people are punished and are at higher risk of violence. Many world leaders, including U.S. President Joe Biden and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, have expressed their support of their LGBTQIA+ populations and are working to develop legislation to prevent discrimination and to preserve the rights of LGBTQIA+ people. For more information about the International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia, and Biphobia, visit the website may17.org. To know more about LGBTQIA+ topics, go to our website, gwinnettpl.org, to check out the following suggested items: The ABCs of LGBT+ by Ash Hardell, Coming Around, Parenting Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Kids by Anne Dorenwind, LGBTQ, The Survival Guide for Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, and Questioning Teens by Kelly Madrona, Pride, the LGBTQ+ Rights Movement, A Photographic Journey by Christopher Meesom, Queer, the Ultimate LGBTQ Guide for Teens by Kathy Belge, Raising LGBTQ Allies, A Parent's Guide to Changing the Messages from the Playground by Chris Tompkins. Also, visit our website's digital resources to discover Canopy, our streaming service. Canopy has a wide selection of films and documentaries about LGBTQIA+ topics. Thank you for watching.